The brand still hadn't faded. She wore her shawl high over her shoulder, even in the heat, though anyone who'd seen what they burned into her flesh didn't forget. That kind of pain stuck to your name like blood on cotton. No matter how long you scrubbed, it wasn't a letter. It wasn't even initials. It was a crude mark made from twisted iron and male spite. A curling, ugly scar shaped like a cattle brand but meant for her. A girl who had defied the wrong men in the wrong town and lived to walk away. If you could call this living. Her name was Elise Hart, 21 years old. Slim hands, tired eyes, and a silence that wasn't shy. It was protective. When she spoke, it was short, clipped, like each word had been weighed before it left her mouth. The townspeople of Dry Creek called her marked. Not to her face, but not behind her back either. She heard it every time a whisper trailed her into the store. Every time she walked into the chapel and no one slid down the pew to make space. Every time a man's eyes landed on her and then flicked away with shame or hunger. That brand on her shoulder wasn't meant to punish her. It was meant to ruin her. But it didn't. It only made her quiet, and patient, and very, very watchful. She lived in the edge shack behind Widow Marla's boarding house, did laundry for the travelers passing through, cooked her own meals, kept to herself. Some thought she was simple, others thought she was cursed. Elise never corrected either, because no one asked what really happened. Not even when 3 ranch hands from the Avery spread came back one night with bruises they couldn't explain. One had a broken jaw. One limped for a month. None of them talked. The preacher's wife said maybe the devil was living in Elise's hands. Said a girl like her wasn't supposed to still be walking upright. But she was. Until the morning the dust rose behind the canyon road. 6 riders came through town. Bareback. Faces painted. Braids glinting with copper beads. They didn't yell, didn't wave rifles. Just rode in slow, eyes moving across the buildings, the windows, the people who stopped what they were doing and forgot how to breathe. The man at the front was tall, taller than any of the others. His horse moved like it was walking across water, not dirt. He wore no hat, just a single black feather behind his left ear. His chest was bare, a leather strap crossing from his shoulder to his waist, where a knife sat sheathed in carved bone. Elise saw them from the laundry line. She didn't blink, didn't move. The riders passed her by, not slowing, not staring. All except him. The tall one turned his head. Their eyes met, and for the first time in nearly a year, Elise felt something shift behind her ribs. Not fear, not shame, recognition. He looked at her shoulder, just a flicker of his gaze to the spot she kept covered even in summer. And then he kept riding. The town whispered for days. Said the Comanche came looking for something, or someone, but they didn't take anything. Just rode in, stared at everyone like they were weighing their worth, and rode out again. 3 days later, the tall one came back alone. He didn't ride into town. He walked, on foot, and went straight to the boarding house. Elise was chopping carrots on the porch. He stood 10 feet away, arms at his sides, no threat in his posture, just presence. She didn't move. He said nothing. After a long time, he spoke. "You are not marked," he said. His voice was deep, soft, like tree roots pushing through the earth. "You were claimed, but not by you." Elise blinked once. Her jaw clenched. He stepped forward, slow. "I was told there was a woman here, branded like cattle, but standing like a stone." He tilted his head. "I came to see if it was true." Elise didn't speak. She turned, lifted the edge of her shawl. The scar was redder today, heat made it ache. The man stepped closer. He didn't flinch. He looked at it the way someone looks at old handwriting, trying to read between the lines of what someone meant, not just what they wrote. Then, gently, reverently, he reached out and placed 2 fingers just beside it. Not on the scar, beside it. And then he said one word, "Mine." Not a threat, not a claim of ownership. It was something else, an undoing. The town reacted like blood in water. By noon, word had stretched across every dusty porch and crooked saloon table. The Comanche came back, alone, and stood in front of her, touched her shoulder, said something no one could hear, but everyone claimed they did. Sheriff Mattingly called it a provocation. He said it in the middle of the general store with his boots up on a pickle barrel like his words mattered more if he leaned back while saying them. I don't care how quiet he walked in, Mattingly said, chewing a stub of tobacco. Any man from that tribe lays a finger on a woman in this town and walks away smiling? That's a warning. He's staken a claim. Behind him, Old Man Kearns muttered. He'll come back with 10 more. Maybe 20. Just like the raids in Abilene, someone else added. Starts with one scout, then comes fire. Elise said nothing. She had no place in their circle, no voice in their fear. Even though she was the only one who had been there, the only one who saw him, they called him the Ghost Walker now. Said his eyes were too steady, too dark. Said no man looked at a woman like that unless he meant to take her away. And Elise didn't defend herself. Didn't tell them that his hand had trembled slightly when it neared her arm. Didn't say that when he whispered mine, it didn't feel like he was claiming her. Felt like he was protecting something. But silence, in a place like Dry Creek, is often mistaken for guilt. That evening, Widow Marla came out with a folded blanket and set it on the rail of Elise's porch. You can't stay here anymore, she said. I rent rooms to church folk, travelers. This attention you bring, it ain't safe. Elise looked up from her wash basin, water dripping from her hands. I haven't done anything, she said quietly. Marla didn't meet her eyes. That's the problem. Elise left before nightfall, took her sack, her blanket, the kettle she'd bought with 4 months of laundry wages, walked down the ridge toward the old windmill, where the land leveled out and no one watched. She set up near the creek bed, where the willow trees bent low enough to whisper. That night she didn't sleep, and neither did the Ghost Walker. He came as dawn broke, with a small pack of food and a flask of boiled water. Set it near her without speaking, then sat on a stone 10 paces away. She didn't thank him. He didn't expect her to. They sat that way for hours, like two shadows side by side, keeping company without words. Finally, she asked, Why did you say that? He didn't look at her, just stared at the trees. I said mine so they would stop thinking you were alone. Her breath caught. You don't know me. I know what men do to things they think no one owns. His voice didn't rise, didn't sharpen. He just said it like a fact. Elise swallowed. And now they think I'm yours. He turned now. I didn't say you were mine, he said gently. I said the scar wasn't. That mark they put on you, that's theirs. But the rest of you, the part still breathing, that part chooses. Elise looked away. Not many people believe I can choose anymore. He tilted his head. I do. They sat like that until the sun slipped behind the ridge. When she stood, he didn't follow. But he said one more thing. If you ask, I'll leave. But if you don't, if you stay, I'll come back tomorrow. Not for you. Just to be near what the fire didn't take. She didn't answer. She just sat again. By the next evening, there was talk of a warning party. 3 men in town had strung rifles across their saddles and started practicing aim on tin cans. One of them was Avery, the same man whose ranch hands had left Elise black-eyed 2 years back. He stood in front of Mattingly's office with his gun half cleaned and his voice raised. I say we drive him off, or drag her back and keep her where folks can see what she's doing. Mattingly looked torn. He didn't like violence unless he was holding the only gun. Still, pressure mounted. That night, Elise found a dead bird nailed to her wash basin. Its wings had been stretched wide, the same shape as the brand on her shoulder. The message was clear. She didn't belong anywhere. But the next morning, before she could burn it, the Ghost Walker found it first. He stood over the corpse, silent. Then he lifted it, wrapped it in cloth, and buried it beneath the willow tree. Said a word she didn't understand. Then looked at her like nothing else needed to be said. And for the first time in years, Elise felt it again. Not safety, not love, something deeper, promise. The storm didn't come with thunder. Came with boots. 6 pairs. Midday. Heat rising off the dirt road like steam from a pot. The kind of weather that made tempers short and bullets quicker than reason. Avery led the men. Grizzled, proud, red-faced like he lived on whiskey and unfinished fights. The others were younger, itching for a cause, hiding fear beneath scowls. They didn't speak when they passed the chapel. Didn't slow as they neared the willow trees by the creek bed. They just rode in tight, guns slung low, like they were heading into battle. Elise heard them long before they arrived. She was kneeling at the water, rinsing a shirt that hadn't belonged to her in years. She didn't turn when the hooves stopped, didn't flinch when one of the horses pawed the dirt, stirring up the dust she tried so long to settle. Avery spat to the side and dismounted. "You gonna come quiet?" he asked. His tone was flat, like he was asking her to help carry grain, not walk away from what little she had left. Elise stood slowly, dried her hands. "What do you think I did?" she asked. "You brought them here," Avery snapped. "You lit a fire under the kindling. And now we got Comanche walking into our town like they own the sky." She tilted her head slightly. "He didn't threaten anyone. He didn't have to." The other men shifted in their saddles, growing restless. One kept his hand near his revolver, though it trembled slightly at the wrist. "We came to put this to rest," Avery said. "Send him a message. One that don't need translation." "You going to shoot him?" Elise asked. Avery grinned. "Only if he don't get the point." That was when the sound came, soft at first. A bird call, not loud. Just a single low whistle like wind brushing tall grass. Then a second one answering. The horses stilled. One whinnied nervously. Avery turned toward the trees. The branches didn't move. No shapes shifted. No hoofbeats. Just the silence of men who suddenly realized they weren't alone. Then the ghost walker stepped out. No paint this time. No feather. Just leather trousers. A single braid hanging down his back, and a knife at his belt. He didn't look rushed, didn't look afraid, just walked between the trees like he belonged to them. His eyes didn't leave Avery's. He didn't speak first. Elise did. "He came to give me back my name." The men looked at her like she was speaking in riddles. But the ghost walker understood. "She was marked to be discarded," he said finally. "Scarred to be forgotten. You burned her and called it justice." "She was asking for it," one of the men muttered. The ghost walker's eyes didn't move. He stepped forward just one step. "I have not drawn my weapon," he said calmly. "But if one of you does, I will not miss." "You threatening a white man on white land?" Avery growled. "I am saying you've mistaken silence for surrender." A tense breath held. A single wind gust stirred the dust between them. Then another sound. Hoofbeats. More than a dozen. Coming fast. Not from the road but from behind the trees. Avery turned just in time to see riders appear on the ridgeline. Not charging. Not shouting. Just coming steady. Eyes locked. Comanche. Every one of them painted. Armed. Waiting. They lined up along the edge of the field like shadows pulled from the earth. No swords. No war cries. Just presence. A wall of watching. The younger men panicked. "Jesus Christ," one whispered. "How many are there?" 20, maybe more," another said. "We didn't bring enough shot." Avery stood frozen, jaw clenched. The ghost walker said nothing. He stepped to Elise's side now, gently reached for her shawl with a glance that asked permission. She nodded. He lifted it just enough to show the scar again, then raised his own arm and pulled his sleeve back to reveal a burn of his own. Different mark. Older. But there. "I know what it means to be claimed by fire," he said. "But scars do not make you weak. They do not erase you." He looked at the men. "Go back. There is no fight here. Only the fear you brought with you." The men hesitated. Then Elise did something no one expected. She stepped forward. Not behind the ghost walker. In front of him. She turned her shoulder toward the mob and let the light catch the scar. "Let them see it. Let them stare." "I'm not ashamed," she said. "I was once. I hid it. Let it decide what I was worth." She looked back at the ghost walker. But someone saw past it. She turned again. "I'm not hiding anymore." Avery's lip curled. He spit again. "This ain't over." No, the ghost walker said, stepping beside her. But it's not yours to finish. Avery looked up at the ridge, at the quiet line of Comanche watching with still eyes, and made his choice. He mounted up, spurred his horse, didn't look back. The others followed. No shots fired, no blood spilled, but something had shifted in the dirt that day. Not fear, not dominance, just understanding, and maybe, just maybe, respect. They sat together beneath the willow tree as dusk crawled across the sky, bleeding orange into purple like a bruise fading slowly over time. The ghost walker, whose name, she now knew, was Tahoma, hadn't spoken since the riders left. Not a single word. But he hadn't needed to. His presence was enough. Solid, grounded, unmoving even as the world shifted. Elise sat beside him, legs tucked under her, the fabric of her shawl pooled in her lap. She no longer clutched it to hide the brand. Letting it breathe now, letting the breeze cool the burn that once carried only shame. The silence wasn't awkward. It was reverent. Tahoma broke it first, his voice low like a river rolling over stone. When they mark cattle, he said, they do it to show ownership, to say this creature has no will. It belongs to someone else. He glanced at her shoulder. But you walked out of the fire with your eyes still sharp, with your mouth still closed. That's not what own things do. Elise swallowed. For the first time, she looked him full in the face. Not sideways, not cautiously, not with fear. I didn't know I was still a person after it happened, she said. I didn't know I was still anything. Tahoma nodded, slowly. I know that feeling. He pulled something from a pouch at his side. A small wooden carving no larger than her palm. Worn smooth, edges softened by time. It was the shape of a hawk, wings curved downward mid-dive. My sister carved this, he said, when I was 13. Said it would protect me. Said it would remind me who I was. He passed it to her. She turned it over in her hand gently, reverently. She's gone now? Elise asked. White raiders, he said. No bitterness in his tone. Just truth. Elise didn't say sorry. He didn't expect her to. Instead, she reached into her own satchel and pulled out a thin, threadbare cloth. A corner of what once was a handkerchief, now worn soft and pale. The only thing she'd kept from her mother. She used to wipe flour from her face with this, Elise said. Said nothing tastes right when your nose is full of dust. Tahoma smiled, just faintly. They traded their relics silently, not as offerings, but as trust. Something deeper than the words neither of them had been taught how to use. I used to dream, Elise whispered, that someone would see past it, the scar, the silence, the way I never look anyone in the eye unless I have to. I used to think maybe, just maybe, someone would look at me and not flinch. Tahoma's voice was gentle. I never flinched. She looked at him. Why? Because I don't see the mark first, he said. I see the woman who stood taller than 6 men who rode in with hate in their mouths. She laughed, surprised even her. A short sound, rough with disuse. Tall? She said. I barely reach your chin. Tall is not measured by bones, he said. Another silence, but warmer now, soft around the edges. Why did you come back? She asked. That first day, after riding in with your people. I saw your eyes, he said, and in them, I saw something I'd been missing. She waited. Home, he finished. That word hung in the air, heavier than the rest. Home, not a place, not 4 walls and a bed, but this moment under the willow tree, where 2 people with broken pasts sat beside one another without fear, without hiding, without asking to be forgiven. I want to stay, she said softly, but I also want to go. He nodded. You can do both. She raised an eyebrow. Stay in your heart, he said, and go where your soul can breathe. Her breath caught. Would that be with you? She asked. He didn't smile. He didn't speak. He simply reached over, slowly, and took her hand. Not like a man claiming something. Not like someone desperate to possess. Just a man holding something he was grateful to be trusted with. I would walk as far as you needed, he said, and stop wherever you wanted. Her fingers closed around his, not as a promise, but as a beginning. And under that willow, where shadows once stretched long and cold, the wind finally shifted, not with threat, but with peace. They left at first light. No words to the town. No farewell to the widow. No explanations to Sheriff Mattingly or the preacher's wife or the boys who spat when she passed. Just two figures, one tall and silent, the other carrying a satchel of things that didn't belong to anyone but her, disappearing into the folds of the western hills. Elise never asked where they were going. She only asked if there would be trees, water, sky. Tahoma nodded each time. They followed the old deer trails, moved like ghosts with no hurry, no destination carved in stone. Some nights they slept under stars, some nights in hollows, but she never felt alone, not once. On the third night they reached the river basin, wide and slow and golden in the setting sun. A Comanche camp sat along the edge, 6 teepees, 2 fires, children playing barefoot with a carved stick and wheel. No one stared when they arrived. A few nodded. One older woman touched Elise's arm gently and smiled. No one looked at the scar. No one looked away from it either. Simply was. And that was enough. In time, she came to know the people, helped mend leather, learned the soft rhythm of the language Tahoma spoke when he dreamed. They gave her a name in their tongue, Tiva. It meant dance of fire, not because she was fiery, because she had walked through flame and come out with her hands still open. She never wore the shawl again. She never had to. And Tahoma? He kept the carving of the hawk close, but never in his pouch again. He hung it above the place they slept, beside a small loop of fabric from Elise's handkerchief. 2 stories side by side, one carved in wood, one woven in thread, both reminders that they had been broken once but never ruined. Years passed, not rushed, just steady. Elise grew lines around her eyes, but not from pain, from smiling, from squinting into the wind as she taught girls how to twist rope or thread needles. She never had children of her own, not by choice but by mercy. She'd seen what legacy could look like in something quieter. A hand on a shoulder, a scar healed in the open, a young girl wearing her same quiet strength without apology. Tahoma rarely spoke of the old world, the raids, the hunger, the white men who shot first and asked after. But when he did, Elise didn't flinch. She listened. And when Elise told her story to the daughters of the camp, she didn't speak of shame. She spoke of fire, of endurance, of the man who saw a scar not as a ruin, but as a beginning. One winter night, long after the fires had been put to rest and only the moon kept watch, Elise sat beside Tahoma and said, "I think I was never meant to be owned." He nodded, eyes still on the sky. "You were meant to be seen." She leaned against him, closed her eyes. "Do you think they ever remember me?" she asked. "Let them," he said, "but not as the girl they branded. Let them remember the woman who walked away." She smiled, because now, finally, she knew who she was. Not marked, not owned, not shamed, just Elise. Whole, home, free.